even put it in the headline because it's so disappointing. But did you have any thoughts at all on the whole like Peter Dow, Jimmy Dore, do dissidents like Peter Dow is an op? Like you guys are so dumb. Peter Dow wasn't an op. I would just say he was, that he realized probably both times that neither of those campaigns were going to result in like, the kind of similar machine that he was familiar with from back in his like time as an actual Democratic operative. I think he realized that it wasn't going to go his way, and so he left. So this is interesting too. He says, fact, Dr. West made his own decisions. Obviously, that's the case. Nobody's like operating Dr. West like a marionette. He's his own man. From leaving the Green Party to taking Harlan Crow's donation against my advice. Well, that was good advice, Peter. I'm glad you gave that to him. Bummer he didn't take it the first time around. Unlike you, I respect that a prominent Black intellectual is capable of calling his own shots for better or worse. I agree, Peter. Fact two, his campaign was in debt and in disarray when I joined. I left it with an efficient structure and 100K in the bank. Go ask him and his team, or go read the FEC reports. Yeah, look, I'm not saying that Peter, like, that's the one thing too, is like Jimmy Dore and all these other fuckers are trying to say that like Peter Dow sabotaged the campaign. I don't think he sabotaged the campaign at all. I just think that one, it's not a great look to go through two different campaigns and not see either of them through to fruition. Like that is, I think that's a little bit of an L. I think it's fair to say that. Like, obviously, whatever personal things he's going through, like I'm with the guy. I would never doubt when somebody says like I'm going through PTSD. It's like, take care of yourself, no worries. But I do think that when we are analyzing how a campaign is functioning, right? If you decide to have a campaign manager that previously left another campaign mid, cycle, right, mid-election cycle, and then joined your team, and then that guy also leaves your campaign mid-election cycle, like I think that's fair to talk about, and how that was probably not demonstrable or not a demonstration of like the best decision making, right? So I think that's all fair to say, but calling the guy an op and like saying like, oh my gosh, like Peter Dow just wanted to come in there and sacrifice Cornel, that's so stupid. There's absolutely no evidence for that. What I really think that there's a bounty of evidence for is just it wasn't going to happen. Like, I just want to say like incompetence abounded, and it wasn't because people didn't care, and it wasn't because they didn't have like good intentions, right? It was just that it didn't have the nuts and bolts that it was going to need to be a successful run. And I think Peter desperately wanted to be involved in a fucking, serious effort to challenge Joe Biden. And I respect that. I respect that he was like, of course, if Marianne Williamson wants me to help her run this, I'll get on board with this. And it's like, oh, that didn't work out, but Cornel West is running, like, let's give this another shot. I think it just shows how much work we have to do on the ground, and how when people try and get you excited on the thought of just like a long shot candidate running, there's so much more going on behind the scenes that made Bernie Sanders successful that I don't know if we can replicate even with a huge name like Cornel West, which is something that I think we're all learning now, right? We didn't know. Like, there was something special about a candidate that could take their name and turn it into an effective machine to run for office. And I think that's the second part, right? It's about building a machine with you.
Do you think if Cornel had run as a Democrat against Biden, that it would have been different?
I don't know. It's really interesting. I think potentially he would have had the same outcome as Marianne Williamson, where, maybe he would have surpassed her by 5 or 6 points, and he would have had like a 15% of the Democratic primary, and Marianne would have had like 6, and then RFK would have had like 17, 20. And then it would have looked really bad for Joe Biden to see like all of these people kind of eating away at him, so much collective dissatisfaction within the party for the sitting president, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I think it would still probably have turned out the same way, well, I mean, maybe less dysfunction, but I still don't think it would have ended up in like a massive independent campaign challenge if that would have been the ultimate goal. Like, say he lost the Democratic primary and ran third party, I think probably a lot of the hurdles still manifest.
Yeah. I don't know. Who knows if it would have made a difference. I do agree with this, John. Cornel shouldn't have left the Green Party. Agree with that. Peter influenced him to leave the Green Party just to quit a few weeks later. That's actually unclear, John, whether or not Peter Dow actually influenced Cornel West to leave the Green Party and go independent. This is what Jimmy Dore is kind of accusing him of here. He says, fact, before you joined Cornel West campaign, he had ballot access in 18 states. After you, he has ballot access in 0 states. That was your true mission, and everyone sees it now. Tell Hillary and the DNC hello from all of us. So, of course, there's Jimmy's theory. I am interested because I haven't heard it verified yet, whether or not Peter Dow was the one who was behind leaving the Green Party or going independent. I've heard a few different reasons thrown out there as to why Cornel did that. Someone said it was because Ralph Nader came out and said that he was going to vote for Biden instead of the Green Party. Someone said it was, because of like a ballot access thing, and someone gave him bad information, something like that.
Yeah, they were saying that because of the funding, he wasn't going to be able to get on more than like 30 states or whatever. But he was thinking, remember, he had that weird thing where he was like,
Yeah.
if I go independent, I'll be able to get 35 states,
which
or
is
something
total
like
bullshit because now he has to
Total
make up
bullshit
all the
because-
ground. Yeah.
And
from
also,
the-
if Howie Hawkins could get on fucking 46 or some odd states, like Cornel West within the Green Party could have gotten on 46 states. So I hear his pushback also was like, oh, I wanted to be like on the ground, and I didn't want to be going to all these like weird like Green Party like dinners and like handshaking events, and I wanted whatever, right? But I think it's pretty ridiculous without any fucking evidence to come out here and pretend that Peter Dow just like did this to sabotage.
I agree
Cornel
that
West.
I agree that it's like there is no actual evidence. What I was going to say is that if we somehow get information that Peter Dow literally convinced Cornel West to leave the Green Party, go independent, and in the process sacrifice all of his ballot access, and then as soon as that was accomplished, he literally pieces out of there, that does look a little bit suspicious. I'm not going to lie. I'm obviously not going to go as far to literally say that it's a case of infiltration or whatever, but I'm just saying that does seem suspicious. That does seem fishy if that is the case, but we don't know. I'm literally just speculating. I have no idea if it was Peter Dow's idea or Cornel West's idea to leave the Green Party, but it is true that, after Cornel West left the Green Party, in my opinion, his campaign was over. Like that basically was the last straw. It's over. There's no Cornel West 2024.
Jover.
It's Jover.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that
it is kind of weird.
I think part of what it probably came down to, and I'm just imagining this, right? Because you got to think, okay, sure, they have more resources, but they don't really have a ton of inside connections, right? Like you're kind of making it up as you go along, right? So I imagine what happened is there was a lot of brainstorming going on. There was a lot of putting your eggs into baskets, and then like, oh, why don't you just admit you want a job as an advisor to West and you didn't get it instead of using me as a bank shot to lash out at him, at least have the guts to go after him directly? That's probably fair too. I think Jimmy definitely wanted a fucking advisor gig from West to like boost his clout. And I do admire the fact that West was like, no, you're not getting that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that West is, probably able to smell what Jimmy's up to over there and didn't want it to be a part of his campaign. But what I think what happened is that honestly, in the same way that when Peter Dow realized that and we say this as somebody who's we pulled for Marianne and we've chatted with her. I think she's very lovely. But when he realized that the campaign wasn't going to be like the fucking big, hurrah, the big like wave your fists in the air and like get a big huge mob and like be like a part of it, that it was going to be like more low key than that, to put it lightly. I think he dipped, and then he saw a new shiny campaign in the form of Cornel West, and he was like, this is the one that's going to be the real revolution. Everybody's going to groundswell and get behind us. We're going to fucking go. And then in the midst of all of this, and you have the Harlan Crow thing, which goes badly. You have the fact that they're not fundraising enough money. That the tweets that he's putting out are not getting the engagement that you need to get if you're a fucking president. Like 2,500 favorites. That's like what good politic guy does on a bad tweet. Like, you know what I mean? And that's our homie who's 24 years old. Like, you know what I mean? And runs a YouTube channel. He said, but he's crushing it. But like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what you expect from a presidential campaign. Like Bernie Sanders used to get like 100K favorites when he would tweet, like, and he still lost, guys. So let's keep that in mind. So especially when you're running a hyper online campaign, if you're not even generating a lot of steam with your online content, right? Like if Hassan Piker was running for president and he would be generating, like, you know what I'm saying? So he would still have no chance is what I mean, but he would get like a fuckload of, anyway, all I'm saying is that if you're going to be an online person, you have to be incredibly savvy and generating content and steam online. And I think that they just didn't really have the online presence that they were going to need outside of going on to a bunch of shows that were like just slightly larger than ours and at times slightly smaller than ours.
And at times incredibly humiliating and embarrassing places to go if you're Cornel West.
Yeah, exactly. So
beneath you in every way.
I think that's part of the deal, is that it never got off the ground. It's never going to be successful. I think that I think you're right now for sure that it's going to peter out and not make it to the general election. I mean, if he gets on the ballot, I think it'll be like an accidental thing where in like 10 or 15 states he's on the ballot. But it's not a serious campaign. by any means anymore. I definitely don't recommend anybody donates any more money to it.
Also,
but-
speaking of the Harlan Crow thing, Peter Dow did put out a tweet about this. I got a screenshot of it. He's been tweeting so goddamn much over the last 24 to 48 hours that I had to start screenshotting these so I don't have to scroll for an eternity to find them. But it does seem like Peter Dow had a difference with Cornel West as it related to taking that Harlan Crow money. And Peter Dow pretty much straight up calls out Cornel West here for trying to take that money. This is a response to JB, who put out some video about it. And Peter Dow says, curious, does my rejection of money from Nazi collector billionaires make my exit stage right or stage left? And what about my taking the campaign from net negative cash and 4% in the polls to $100,000 cash on hand and 9% in the polls? What nefarious motives are these? LOL. But I do think it's pretty funny that, when Cornel West put out that statement, he was saying, my dear brother, Harlan Crow, whose precious family I pray for and who has a never forget collection of various tyrants from around the world.
Bullshit. That was the biggest horseshit I'd ever heard in my entire life from Cornel West.
Such bullshit. I couldn't believe that he stooped to that level and was defending goddamn Harlan Crow of all people. But anyway, clearly Peter Dow sees it differently. He straight up does classify this as Nazi collector billionaire money. And clearly, he advised Cornel behind the scenes not to take that. So that also leads me to believe that Peter Dow wasn't just suffering from PTSD and that he was sick of having to kind of take the bullet for Cornel West. Because if you guys remember, ever since Peter Dow became Cornel West campaign manager, every time Cornel West has made a misstep, it gets blamed on Peter Dow now. So when he took that money, everyone is saying, yep, more proof that Peter Dow was just trying to.
This is why I think that it's actually just Peter Dow realizing that this isn't a revolutionary campaign either. Like, I feel like Peter Dow, like, honestly, bro, like, he's malding on Twitter and it's not a great look. Like, I've been critical of Peter Dow, but I feel for the guy more than anybody else. I think he actually really wanted this shit to go down and he was trying to put his money where his mouth was and he was trying to have the rubber hit the road. But in the end, it all goes down on a sinking ship. I think you actually put it really well, Gavin. Do you want to throw your tweet up? Gavin tweeted this out the other day about the basically the independent, third party movement being like just embarrassing as fuck. The third party movement in America has never been in a more embarrassing place than it is right now. I totally agree, Gavin. He says, and I feel weird reading your tweet, but I'll keep doing it. Just an endless circular firing squad of terminally online losers with no solidarity, let alone an actual strategy to accomplish anything. I read this and I was like, yes, brother. Like, I was like, no. This was a good tweet because it's like, yes, what's happening right here? Like, yes, it's true that Peter Dow is being used by cowards who use him for clicks to attack Cornel West, or people who want to attack him for in a way of excusing Cornel West's bad decision making, as you just mentioned, Gavin. But it's also like, dude, it's such a bad look. Like, if you scroll down, our homie Griffin was like, I thought this dude was logging off, and it's like, exactly, dude. Instead, you've just been fucking malding. You know what I mean? It's just. Like, Peter, my brother in Christ, just turn off your Twitter account if it's hurting you so badly, and that's it. I get it. Like, keep fighting the good fight. Like, I don't have any real beef with Peter Dow. I actually gave him the benefit of the doubt a lot. Same. You know what I mean? I routinely was like, guys, like, maybe they just want somebody who knows how the sausage is made. Maybe that's what we will do. And I imagine part of why Peter Dow left both of those campaigns is because he realized they weren't going to cut the mustard. Like, he knew what it was like to watch like a Hillary campaign go down, or a Barack Obama or a Kerry campaign go down. And he was like, oh, those people, like two of those three candidates lost the general election and they were so much more fucking organized than you guys. Like, we're just fucked. So yeah, literally lives on Twitter. That's also a sickness, guys. That's a sickness. I don't trust anybody that lives on Twitter too much. Like, if you say you're going to take a break from Twitter and then you tweet like 150 times over the course of the next like 10 hours, like, that makes people wonder about you, because it's like, clearly you feel like you need to quit and you can't quit. It's kind of like when you tell all of your homies that you're going to like become a vegan, and then like 3 days later you're eating steak and they're all like, wait, I thought you were gonna be a vegan. Why are you judging me, bro? You're eating steak too. No, dude, it's cool. It's just we eat steak too, but you said you were a vegan, and it's oh, so now you're all concerned with my dietary choices, bro. And it's like, no, dude, I just you made a big stink on Twitter. You said that we were all killing the planet, like how cows were gonna be the death of all of us, and that like we needed to wake up, and like you were joining a movement and you couldn't be back to bed, and then now you're eating steak just like the rest of us. So it's just like, hey, bro, we're just pointing out that it was like, you kind of came around the block on that one. You know what what I mean? Like, I think that's the vibe I get from Peter Dow. Like,
Yeah, totally, totally. And again, I do feel for Peter Dow in some way. I think that he was kind of unfairly blamed for some of the mistakes and missteps of the campaign that turned out to actually just be Cornel West's own bad judgment that Peter was then kind of blamed for, had to take the bullet for. Like I said, I think the big one would be that Harlan Crow money, which Peter Dow clearly did not think was worth taking. He straight up classifies it as Nazi collector billionaire cash. And I don't think advised Cornel West to take that money. Cornel West clearly did anyway. And then
which is
Peter
a
Dow,
bucket for Peter.
right. And then Peter fell on the sword because everyone on Twitter was like, see, proof that Peter Dow is destroying the Cornel West campaign, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think Peter Dow, yeah, he was just tired of being blamed for all of the campaign's issues. But that being said, it is very true that Peter Dow needs to log the hell off and stop making this all about him. Like, seriously, bro, this is not about you. This is about like the third party movement, the anti-duopoly movement. It's about the policies. It's about calling out the neoliberal establishment. It's not about, engaging with all your fucking haters online and feeding the trolls and fighting with every member of fucking Do Dissidents and RBN about every dumbass shit they say. Like, it's just embarrassing. And it's like, you're a grown ass man. Go fucking, I don't know, dude. Like, it is a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, like I said, this dude's been the victim of so much like bad faith energy recently that I want to go to bat for him, but it's like, bro, you're bringing it on yourself in some capacity. Like, look at the kind of dipshits that you're courting in your fucking mentions, and you're engaging with them. Like, that's bad, bro. You can't do that. Otherwise, they're going to keep coming back, and they're not going to let you know a moment of rest. Okay, and the thing is that everybody was already sus about this guy when he came in, and oh, I'm a reformed like neoliberal, and now I'm a progressive, and I believe him. We got to start taking yes for an answer as the left. So I believe the guy when he says that. I believe that his transition was pure. Great, you're no longer working on the Democratic Party machine. I love that. Love to hear that. Then he's like, well, actually, I'm going to be running Marianne Williamson's campaign. And everybody was like, Marianne's an op. She hired an op fucking campaign manager. And Gavin and I were like, Marianne is not an op, and neither is Peter Dow. And Marianne thinks he's the best man for the job. And we're going to, take her word for it for now and give, maybe they want somebody like him and with his experience. Let's see how it goes. And then he leaves the campaign, and he says it's because of like, he wants to be closer to his parents who are ill or something along those lines, who are sick. And everybody's like, oh, okay. Maybe that's true, but maybe this is just a convenient excuse because the campaign isn't taking off like you wanted to. And then a few weeks later, he's the new campaign manager of Dr. West's campaign. You're like, well, maybe your parents miraculously recovered, or it was kind of a cover for something else going on behind the scenes. We don't know. We don't have the receipts for that. All we can do is blindly speculate. So we move on and we say, okay, well, maybe he's really interested in Cornel West. Jill Stein says she introduced West to Peter because she thought that he would have the skill sets to help him navigate a Green Party primary, yada, yada, yada. Push comes to shove. Cornel West goes to the Green Party, takes some Nazi memorabilia money, collector money, excuse me. And then Peter Dow's like, nah, fuck this player, I'm out. So that was the rundown, and you could see why the people are skeptical about this, man. But to be honest, I think it's just life. I think it's like he meant well, but he just kept ping-ponging around trying to do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, guys, these are jobs. Like, people go to work every day and work on these campaigns. There's so much more to it than just like, do you want this person to get elected? There's so much drama and chaos and stress and just grinding endlessly. And that's one of the things that I would never have fully appreciated if I didn't have my sister, she's a chief of staff for this lady in Boston City Council, and the fucking campaign season is just grueling, man. And she's worked in Democratic Party campaigns for a long time, and they're fucking brutal, man. Those people, they're always dialing on the phone. They're always fucking working. They're always going to events, meetings, putting shit out, shaking hands with people. Oh, there's a parade here. There's some other shit here. You know how it goes. It's like hard work, and that's not even usually for a presidential campaign. Presidential campaigns are fucking they're monsters, dude. So anyway, I think it was just life happening and the left not having their shit together at all. And we got to bear that out for everyone to see. And it honestly makes me respect Jill Stein more for just quietly going about her business and always at least trying to move the ball forward with the Green Party without constantly having a fuckload of drama and press and tantrums on the internet from everybody that gets near the Green Party candidates. Although I do sure wish they would be more successful than they have been.